going to start from
All
there.
right,
Hey,
then.
everybody! Thank you for joining us for the Direct Live. But now we have processed everything within the last few minutes, and we are ready to discuss it level-headedly. Ash, what did you think of that presentation? Was that good? Was it middling? What do you think?
Well, as I just tweeted a few minutes ago, that was a tasty-ass Direct, man. We got 2D Zelda, we got Metroid Prime 4, we got Mario and Luigi, we got Dragon Quest, Ace Attorney Investigations. Like, there was so much to love about this Direct. I know there's someone out there right now typing, oh, that was a really mid-Direct. Oh, 5 out of 10. No. This is one of the best Directs in recent memory. I had a great time. There were a few things I wish we would have seen that we didn't, but, beggars can't be choosers, and I thought that was a pretty great Direct overall.
There's no way anyone remembers all the cool stuff. Like, I forgot that Fantasian was announced, and they added voice acting to it, and that is legit one of the coolest RPGs of the modern era. Everyone should play it, and it's just gone to the back of my mind after all that cool stuff. But Steve, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I have to share Ash's opinion. I don't think it's going to be like a hot take that this was just an amazing Direct. We got a lot of different cool stuff. Obviously, Ash covered a bunch of it. For me, big fighting game fan, we got, that whole Marvel vs. Capcom collection.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't have to be that. It could have just been Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and it would be over the moon, but they threw everything in there.
I mean, I was a big Saturn kid growing up. I had X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes, all of those, and to see all of those just wrapped up into one collection was I mean, that alone would have made it a great Direct, but we got so much more.
Yeah. And Daniel, what was that? Is it even close that was the best presentation of the season?
That was amazing. I mean, you open up a Direct not just with Mario and Luigi, but also with a new Mario and Luigi. We don't even know who's making it still at this present moment, but with an amazing new art style, but one that stays true to like the visual art you see from the Mario and Luigi series since the very first one, and it looks amazing. They're animated so well. It looks absolutely like something I've been waiting for a long time. And Mario RPG games, they're just back. Super Mario RPG, Paper Mario, and now this one, they're just back again. Like it looks so fun and entertaining. Unique designs all around, and yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg, literally, because that's what the show opened on. What we didn't see was Fire Emblem. I knew it. It's gonna be.
Well, there's a lot to talk about, both in what is there and what isn't there.
Yeah.
But let's stick on Mario and Luigi for a second, because you are right. It is crazy that we got Mario RPG remade. It's crazy we got Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door remade, and it's crazy we have what we thought was going to be a dormant series get a brand new entry. Not even a remake. I mean, we've had 2 RPG remakes within the span of months, and now we're getting a completely new game in Mario and Luigi series. No idea who's making it. Do you have any guesses who the developer is?
Yeah, I think as we speculated during the Direct, I think Next Level is a good candidate for this.
Makes sense.
The animation just looks too good to be anybody else that we're familiar with.
Yeah, and they're in-house now. Strikers was their last game, which couldn't have taken their entire force. And Luigi's Mansion 3 was, like 4 years ago now? So they could absolutely have finished another game by then.
It was 5 years ago now.
Yeah, 2019, I want to say. Yeah. But yeah, it looks bonkers. The scale was out of this world, and they managed to sort of like. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I find the 3DS games, Dream Team's good, but I think they sort of developed a more sterile style as they went on. Like Superstar Saga was very zany and cartoony, and then as it went on, it just kind of fell into its. It just kind of became a bit basic. Whereas this,
Paper
I
Jam
feel like
was it felt
Safe
aggressively
Mario.
generic.
Yes.
Jam. Yeah.
This is the opposite of that. We've got we got a new character every frame. Every single time the screen cuts, there's something new. They've never quite been in areas like this before. Never been on island hopping like this. It looks great.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it probably is Next Level, because literally there's I guess we're returning back to Bros attacks with what we saw. One of them literally looks like a wind up for a special hit in Strikers, like winding up hitting the Koopa shell. It looks just like that, almost frame for frame. So I wouldn't be surprised if it is Next Level working on this series right now.
They're very versatile devs too. Like they've done Strikers, they've done Luigi's Mansion, they've done Punch Out. Like they aren't tied to any genre. They can do whatever.
I can't help but want to pour one out for Alpha Dream though, because like as much as I'm thankful that the series is continuing, because I think we can probably all agree that we didn't really expect Mario and Luigi to continue without Alpha Dream, and I'm glad that it is continuing. At the same time, though, I feel a little bad, and I'm just like I imagine that you're an employee or a former employee of Alpha Dream, seeing this series continue without you, and it's a little sad. But at the same time, of course, I am happy that the series is continuing and not on ice, in perpetuity.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see it continue. What's wild to me is that it's also coming out relatively soon. For this being the first time we're seeing it, it's coming out in November. I'm so happy about that.
Yeah, that is literally 3 RPGs in 1 year. Because what was Mario RPG? Was that November last year? And then we had Thousand Year Door like last month, and now we've got Mario and Luigi.
We're rolling with it.
Wild.
Yeah. And can I just say, Brothership sounds like I would have read that on a 4chan leak somewhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of like fake sounding names in this direct. But we can talk. There's a lot to talk about. I have one last thing to say about Mario and Luigi. Do we think Luigi is going to have his stripy socks?
Did we not see?
Yes.
We didn't get a handle on that, did we? I hope he does. That's a
They
signature.
cut
It's
his
not a
stripy
Mario.
socks
It's not a
from
Mario Luigi
later
game.
games.
It's not a Mario Luigi game if there's no striped socks. So we'll see.
All right. Well, we can just go through this list, but I want to just go all over the place. Steve, what's the second game that you thought was just peak hype?
Oh, easy for me. That is Zelda Echoes of Wisdom.
Yeah.
I just did not expect that. Can't believe we got it. And it's everything I didn't know I wanted from the Zelda franchise.
Yeah.
They
And
finally.
we were
did.
saying before
Yeah.
we were saying right before the direct, like it's been a long time since 2D Zelda. I think longer than people realize. Like we've had Link's Awakening to fill the gap, but A Link Between Worlds and Triforce Heroes are like a decade ago now. And then like Spirit Tracks is like 14 years ago. So we've got 2D Zelda back. We've got playable Zelda. And that's like all they needed to do, but then they sort of squeezed in the innovation of like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and how you move around the world, and it just looks like a top tier game.
Yeah, I absolutely love how they put it together. It was funny because I stifled a comment that I thought was going to end up being really stupid during the direct. I was watching it, and when they show the kind of Breath of the Wild moment of Zelda going out onto that little plateau and you see the world out in front of her, I was like, oh, it looks very blocky in the distance. I was like, it looks almost Minecrafty. And then we find out that she actually can place blocks of stuff. And I was like, damn it, I should have said that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this already renders that new Tears of the Kingdom art book invalid, because now we have to wonder, where does this game fall in the timeline, right? Now we don't know, where does this new game fall?
I've subscribed to the idea for years and years now that the timeline is just
I know
fan service.
They make
right?
it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
They thought that
totally.
sounds good. Put it in the
Yeah,
book.
I'm being
Musings are
sarcastic,
somewhere.
of course.
Yeah.
But no, the fact
Yeah.
that they were able to take the whole Tears of the Kingdom / Breath of the Wild ethos and funnel it into a 2D Zelda, I didn't expect that for the next 2D Zelda, and yet here we are, and it looks so interesting. I really can't wait to get my hands on it.
I can't
Yeah.
believe we
And
had. I can't believe we had so little faith that we're like, oh no, are we gonna play as the guards? I'm just like, really, guys? Are you
I
gonna
know.
are you gonna be pessimistic like that right now?
Yeah.
But technically, we probably can though, so we can take monsters and. put
I
them
guess
on
you're not
us.
wrong. You can use them, but you're still playing as Zelda for the main thing. Like she's got a fairy companion, so she's officially a mainline character now. And they finally did it. The Legend of Link is a real game now. So we gotta save Link.
I think what's very clever about this mechanic is 2D Zelda has a problem where most items they don't have a use outside of their dungeon. Whereas now everything around you is the item. So you can just take whatever you want and that can be used in that situation. But you can probably also use those items to sequence break and do things like in your own improv way, which I think is really clever. But also it's taking that freedom that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom gave you, and it's probably putting it into a more structured environment because it's 2D. Like, I imagine we're still going to have traditional dungeons. I imagine I think it's going to be open-ended like I think Between Worlds was, but we're probably still going to have more of a path to follow. But it's just great seeing all those components sort of merge together. And I think this is pretty much what people like. I think this is what they wanted. This is what I wanted,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Zelda's gonna have her own style of gameplay, different from Link, of course. But then, yeah,
Yeah.
it is funny to see the kind of parallels we're already seeing with Breath of the Wild, because I guess, as far as we know, Zelda will just be able to do this ability throughout the entire game. Like this is the core ability. Like we learned this at the very beginning, like the Sheikah Slate abilities way early on, and we just carry that in different contexts throughout the entire game, depending on where we are. So it's really exciting to like wonder how that's going to be carried all the way through, and how it'll evolve mid game as well.
I
Yeah,
think oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I think the only thing I would add about this is that I do hope at some point that we get a Zelda game, 2D or 3D, where you play as Zelda and that the gameplay reflects how powerful she actually is herself. Like, the fact that the gameplay is different and that she fights using other objects is cool. But as we've seen in games like Smash and Hyrule Warriors, Zelda herself is an incredibly powerful magic user. And like, I'd like to see her be able to fight directly because we know she can do that. And so as much as I'm excited about this new style of gameplay, playing as her, I hope we do at some point get a Zelda game where you play as her and she's just a badass magic user who can fight directly, right?
Yeah.
Well,
mean,
I think it's a bit early.
I was going to say, this is our first time. I think she's going to have some cool, badass moments in there.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, one of the things, and my feelings initially kind of reflected your own, Ash, in that I wanted to see more of Zelda just directly confronting enemies. However, when I thought about it, I'm like, well, Zelda's, Link's greatest weapon in this, if you discounting like items, but his greatest thing in his arsenal is his courage, right? Which is reflected in the piece of the Triforce he traditionally carries. And with Zelda, it's always been wisdom. And so I think it's cool to have her use this unconventional combat style. Like one of the really cool moments in this trailer for me was when Zelda is directly confronted with an enemy, and to defend herself, she just drops a rock right in front of him. So he hits the rock, and then she just picks it up and throws it right in his face to kill him.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is really cool. Like, I was wondering how this whole thing would work together. And when you see it in those little glimpses in the trailer, it's like, oh, that's really cool. Like everything in this game has the potential to be a puzzle, and there's no right or wrong answer on how to solve it. They showed her stacking up water and then swimming up the water, which I thought was just so
That was cool.
Yeah. Huge shout outs to Grezzo as well. They are extremely talented developers. Link's Awakening had some problems, but I think the core of that game was just beautiful, both in terms of visuals and audio. In fact, I was playing it yesterday, and the sound design is so good. Like when Link pitter patters when he's sprinting on different surfaces, like the sand sounds different to stone, and stone sounds different to grass. And seeing them bring that tech back for a new game is very exciting, especially as this will be made around their technical limitations, whereas Link's Awakening was sort of made into what was already existing.
Yeah.
But I see Steve's ready to say something there.
Well, I was gonna say, part of me wonders if the Link's Awakening remake was a test bed for this eventual project. Like if they were aware that they were going to be working on something bigger and brand new, and so they built this as kind of a way to flesh out their ideas and produce something, because we see that a lot, right? We've seen Naughty Dog do that with The Last of Us, where they remade part 1 in preparation for part 2. So I wonder if this may have been something where these plans had existed and were already known of, and they created this Link's Awakening remake to help prepare them for making a whole cloth brand new Zelda game. And of course, we don't know for a fact that Grezzo's working on it, but it'd be really weird if they weren't.
Yeah, they spearheaded Triforce Heroes as well, so they have done an original game before. And of course, they started with the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask remasters, so they can definitely handle it, and they come from Secret of Mana talent too. So just great people there. I fully trust that they're going to make a great game.
This is really interesting. Cutie Caitlin in our live audience chat just mentioned, and I didn't catch this. Did anyone see that the classic and modern Zora designs are in it? They're separate races. I didn't catch that.
I was about to say.
So cool.
I was trying to get in there. We're gonna start seeing races of characters that we hadn't seen in Link's Awakening, like the classic Zoras, like the modern style Zoras, Deku Scrubs as well were in there. Just a lot of different things that we hadn't seen in this art style is going to be visible here now, so that's really cool to look forward to.
That's so cool.
And again, ridiculously soon.
Yeah. it was so funny because Lego Horizons hasn't been dated yet, and we were like, if it's September, then Horizons is just going to continue that that trend forever. But we'll see what that goes up against. But we've been talking about Zelda forever. Anything else to say, or should we move on to something else?
I think I'm pretty good on that.
That Switch Lite looks amazing. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
even need it, but I want it.
Yeah. And thank God Grezzo aren't doing Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. That would have been such a waste of
That would be
time
very
and talent.
Yes.
All right. Well, I want to talk now about a brand new entry in the Mario Party series, Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Jamboree doesn't sound
What are we
real.
thinking about that?
Again,
Oh,
with
good
the
old
fake sounding names.
Yeah.
Y'all ready for a good old jamboree? Brandon and I were hoping for a new Mario Party, and we weren't sure. Like, I was hoping that it wasn't gonna be like just Mario Party Superstars 2 with like all the GameCube titles. Like, you can do that, but at the same time, you can also reiterate some of the stuff that we've learned from the last two titles on here, and that looks like what they're doing here as well. I went crazy the moment I saw it. Looked like Mario's Rainbow Castle. I was like, wait a minute, is this another Superstars or not?
Yeah.
And then they started showing all the,
Right.
the new areas as well, like the Coconut Mall. It's Rainbow Gallery is Coconut Mall. I don't care what they call it.
Rainbow
The mall.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
raceway, like, they're just like, they're actually taking new ideas and they're kind of blending these two together from Super and Superstars, and it just looks so
Yes.
good right now. I'm very excited for this one.
It's a really good middle ground. There was no need for Mario Party to live in the past forever. Like, clearly that's where, the quality lives. But I love that they're just taking the Mario Kart avenue where they do brand new boards, but also just bring back some older ones as well. I hope that stays for all the entries. But I guess it also speaks to the quality of the new ones. If they're standing alongside old ones, that's kind of what you expect in terms of scope and, playability. So I think it looks fantastic.
The most exciting thing in the Jamboree trailer for me was when we saw like 20-player multiplayer.
Yeah.
I want to know a lot more about that and how that
Yeah,
works.
That's
because
the thing now.
Yeah, well, for me, Mario Party was something, I think in an era where we were all conditioned to going to a friend's house to play video games together and online wasn't a thing. 4 players was a sensible limit.
Yeah.
But now, these days, when I think of party games, my mind goes more towards like Jackbox and stuff like that, where you can play with loads of people. And the barrier to entry is pretty low. And so, and similarly, maybe this is blasphemy, I don't know, but I've enjoyed the 99 games a lot more than any recent Mario Party.
Anyone who calls that blasphemy is a fool. They are some of the best games that Nintendo's done this generation.
Right.
agree.
And so I think that Nintendo has caught on that, people want these massively multiplayer social experiences in their games, but I'm curious how they're going to roll that into Mario Party because we got just a taste. And I'm so excited for the idea that we could maybe stream this with our whole community and play together.
Initially, I think I was a little bit unfairly cool on Super Mario Party Jamboree because I was just thinking about how kind of ass Super Mario Party was, in my opinion. I just didn't think it was a very good Mario Party game. But the more I saw of it, the more I was like, you know what? No, I shouldn't be judging this based on the original Super Mario Party because what they're actually showing looks like they're cooking something pretty cool. So at first I was like, I don't know, they're using the Super Mario Party name. But no, I agree with you guys. After seeing what they showed in the Direct, I think this might be actually something to look forward to, for sure.
Well, they're using the Super Mario Party names. It sold like 20 million copies or something outrageous like that. And
So, yeah,
I thought it was a good game. It spread itself thin in the wrong places, but at its core, the board's a bit underwhelming. But I think at its core, the mini games were good, the motion controls were fun. I thought it was a pretty quality game.
I was gonna say I will defend the mini game where you cook a cube of.
Oh, it looks so
steak.
good.
Where you
Damn.
flip the meat.
I love
Yeah.
that game.
It's good looking meat.
sure.
Oh no, I was gonna say that was the same team that did Clubhouse games.
Yes,
with
it was the
also
same
a
team.
ton of hyper realistic looking mini games within that. Just I love this team's work on mini games.
Yeah, ND Cube have redeemed themselves. Anything else to say about Mario Party or on to the next game?
I'm just glad there's legacy boards like Mario's Rainbow
Yeah.
Castle and Western Land from Mario Party 2. That's
Hell yeah.
one that I really
Right.
Very
wanted that
cool.
in Superstars. And this is like the DLC boards that you were gonna get in Mario Party Superstars. I guess this is where we're getting them. We're gonna get more legacy boards here, and I hope to see more going down the line.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very
Yeah.
excited.
Before we move on to some big stuff, I want to talk about something that we don't know that much about, but it looked cool as heck, which is Mio Memories in Orbit. That really cool looking
Yes.
Metroidvania. What are we
Yeah.
thinking about that one?
Looks.
I
super
want
cool.
it, man.
Yeah.
It looks so good. I loved everything I saw about that. Unfortunately, when I can't get, you see the name, and all I can think of is Xenoblade 3. No! Yeah, that's all I can think of. But no, the game looks really cool, and I want to get my hands on that
Yeah.
ASAP.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
I'm a
is it-
big fan of really good animation in games, but more importantly for me, the traversal in this game looked just incredible. Like that character was zipping through environments really quickly, and that to me, Metroidvanias, if you don't have good movement, it's really hard to enjoy them. So it at least has potential for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's half Metroidvanias to stand out when there's so many competing in the indie space, and that one definitely stood out. But
Yeah.
I think we can keep going though. So let's talk about Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake and Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something. I'm not the world's biggest Dragon Quest fan. I have a laughably low amount of experience with the franchise, but I love what I saw. This is the kind of aesthetic I wish every 16-bit era remake would get. And so, I'm definitely picking this up. This will probably be the first time that I go, roll credits on a Dragon Quest game, which I thought it would be 11. I never managed to make the time for 11. I will make the time for this. Just this type of game is what I want to see more of in the industry. So, I'll vote with my wallet and pick all three of these up.
They're
Easy.
nowhere near 11 size either. Like the first game you can
Right.
be in 7 hours. Second
Oh, wow.
game like
Mhm.
15 hours.
Yeah.
3, I'd say like 20 hours. So I don't know what they're adding to these versions, of course, but these will not take you that long to finish, which is great in my book.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And this will also be my first time with the first 3 Dragon Quest games, because like Steve, I grew up more as a Final Fantasy boy, and I know for Steve, Phantasy Star as well. But for me, I always appreciated Dragon Quest from a distance, and then I finally played 11, and I loved it. Steve, please make 100 hours of time for DQ11 because it rocks. But I know that's no short order, but it really is worth the time. But yes, this will be my first time playing the first 3 DQ games, and I couldn't think of a better way to experience them for my first time. And I'm so excited because I know especially DQ3 is beloved by DQ fans as being one of the greats.
I mean,
and I'm
it's one of
so
the most
excited.
important RPGs ever made. Like it basically all the standards you think of when you think modern RPG, they all came from Dragon Quest
Right.
and Dragon Quest. Well, 3 like polished them up to a point where it became a standard, but pretty much everything came from these first 3 games.
I can't wait to experience it for the first time, especially with this gorgeous art style. Like it looks so beautiful, and I hope there should never be HD 2D fatigue. That should not exist. That should not be a thing. HD 2D needs to persist forever because I just love it so much.
I mean, Daniel, like tell us about HD 2D, because obviously it started with Octopath Traveler, but it's got to this point where it's just progressed further and further. Like, are you feeling fatigue now, or is it just sort of reignited your love for it?
I remember the first time we saw this art style. Octopath went a little too hard with certain aspects, like the whole shadow box. Like there was complaints about that. But since then, in titles afterwards, like with Octopath Traveler 2 and with Triangle Strategy and just even
Live
this
Alive.
game now, Live Alive, they've really refined that. And with every game, when I started to feel like oh, we've seen HD 2D already, but then even with this title here, they started to iterate and do something different that I haven't seen in the other ones. And like there was a shot somewhere here where they're like in a garden, and the lighting looked amazing. Like that's for all these scenes here, but just the lighting looks incredible, blending with 3D elements and the 2D sprite work. And they continue to make it look like something that how do they accomplish that? I don't know. It's something that
Yeah.
I never get tired of looking at this art style, and I'm glad to see that it's continuing to persevere with a game like Dragon Quest 3. I think some people might be starting to get tired of it, but I think they're crazy.
I think I was at one point. At one point, I was like, okay, they're all starting to look kind of similar. But then when they revealed Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D, I was like, no, I take that back. This has just perfected everything I love about it. And then this new trailer just has so many set pieces that go way beyond what I ever imagined Dragon Quest 3 looking like. You see, like, you remember some stuff from the original in there, but it's almost unrecognizable. And then you've got those full 3D sections with the boat, which is like Live Alive did that really well really well too, where like the set pieces almost look like they're from a stage play. Like, you can see like the 3D modeling, but they're still 2D. I love all of that. And I love the callback to how they did it on Game Boy Color as well, because Game Boy Color had Dragon Quest 3 and then Dragon Quest 1 and 2 as a compilation. And that's the smartest way to do it, because they're not anywhere near as big as 3. But extremely exciting, and it makes sense why we're waiting so long for these games now, because they're doing all of them.
Yeah, the trilogy.
Yeah.
So that'll be. I also haven't really delved too much into the original trilogy, so this will be my first real way to go throughout through all 3 of these games for the first time, and I'm really excited. I've been waiting for. I've been trying to like not play Dragon Quest 3 because I know this is coming, so I'm glad we finally have some more confirmation on this.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Luigi's Mansion 2 HD for 30 minutes. No, we're going to talk about Marvel, baby. Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics.
Cannot believe.
Steve, what's in this collection?
Oh man, so you've got X-Men versus Street Fighter versus Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2. You have the Punisher, oddly enough.
Yes.
And I believe I think Children of the Atom is in there as well. I could be wrong on that one, but I'm fairly certain that it's basically every 32-bit era Capcom Marvel crossover.
Yeah.
Every single one of the games they licensed, which is
following the foundation of like Capcom Fighting Collection and Capcom Beat 'em Up Collection, where like they all have online. They've got like the testing room where you can just sort of practice, and looks amazing.
Exactly. And honestly, this is probably a collection that, outside of Switch, I'll probably buy on, every platform it's available, just because these are games we've wanted to have for like 20 years now.
Yeah.
Just made available to, it was thought to be impossible past a certain point. So it leads me to wonder how Capcom was able to pull this off. Obviously, they were able to renew their license with Marvel for these releases. But these are the types of games that often popped up on lists of, stuff that we thought was lost to time, that you'd have to get on the original platform or not at all. So I'm thrilled to see all of these at $50. That's a pretty good asking price for so many classic fighting games. I think MVC2 alone would have been worth at least 30.
Well, and what's also really cool is that and as our patron and community member Brian Somnia pointed out, in Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Cyber Akuma is now playable. And I don't think he was ever playable in the original arcade version of the game, which is really cool. And I think there are other new characters that are playable in other games in the collection as well. In the original Marvel Superheroes, Doctor Doom, Thanos, and Anita are now playable. So they're like, yeah. So they're not just porting these; they're actually adding new characters to some of these games. Yeah, really cool, right?
This is wild.
I wonder if they're going to have. I can't remember which game it is in that collection, but one of them had a Japanese comedian as a playable character, and I wonder if they'll bring him back. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's like a weird thing where it's like they just included this cross promo with some comedian who was hot at the time and made sprites for him and everything.
I wonder.
Made him playable, and he was only ever in that version, but I don't think he ever made it to a console release. I could be wrong on that though.
All right.
That's wild. I think some of these games did show themselves in like those like $600 arcade cabinets you can buy.
Yep.
But obviously that's not the way you wanted to play them, and they didn't have online then. So this is just a very celebratory way of bringing everything back, and for the love of God, buy it. Please,
yes,
hell yeah.
everybody.
Day
Trust
one
me,
for me.
these are seminal fighting games. If you consider yourself a fan of fighting games at all, you need to play these. They redefined the landscape of fighting games within the 16 and 32-bit eras. It was wild to see these when they came out. Like, it was Smash Ultimate levels of just people not believing something like this could exist.
Yeah. And now you don't need a Sega Saturn and that Steve, I know you know what I'm talking about, that 4 meg RAM packed thing that you had to be able to play X-Men versus Street Fighter at like full fidelity.
The funniest part was, if you imported Saturn games, which is how I played all of these back in the day, you had to have a cart in that slot, and you'd have to do like a quick swap to be able to play to put in the RAM cartridge.
So cool.
Well,
that's incredible.
Daniel, take us through a game we've not talked about so far. What's on the tip of your tongue?
Oh man, a game we have not talked about thus far.
There's a few big ones.
There's
I say a few. We're running out, but there's a few big ones.
There's a pretty big one at the end, but we'll save that for a little bit later. I was surprised and happy to see we got a Donkey Kong game. We got Donkey Kong Country HD. Yes. That was so nice to see.
Yeah.
Are they doing that just for the theme park, do you think? Or
they might just be tying it in, you know what? It might not be that far off, but the fact that we can now have Tropical Freeze and Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Switch is great. I mean, I know people always talk about Tropical Freeze as like the Donkey Kong Country game that's that people, you know, highlight over, and this one's kind of overshadowed a bit for being on, you know, this was on 3DS, this was on the Wii U?
Just Wii.
Just Wii. Wow. Okay. So
Wii and 3DS.
Yeah. I'm just glad to see this come back again. No new funky mode though. Where's funky mode?
No. But it is nice having everything together though, because like the 3DS had brand new levels, but it had the downside of being at 30 FPS rather than 60, which is a pretty big deal for a platformer like this. So just sort of taking everything, having the new levels, having the fidelity, and also looking way better. I think it looks how you remember it looking, but Donkey Kong always had that sort of plasticky looking model on Wii, whereas now he's got actual fur, and when you put them side by side, looks leagues ahead.
There's a lot of games on the Wii that they look a lot darker when you go back to them. Like you even showed us a screenshot earlier of how the significantly different lighting. You can see DK and Diddy Kong look so much better in this new lighting for the HD version, and it's just a massive improvement when you put them side by side.
Definitely. Yeah. And Daniel, you touched on this, but I feel like history has been a little bit unfair to DKC Returns, and it's been unfairly overshadowed by Tropical Freeze, which is an amazing game, to be fair. But I think Returns in its own right was really good, and people just kind of sleep on it now. Like, oh, it was a thing. No, it's actually a really good game, and I'm glad that it's getting... I'd already had another chance in the spotlight on 3DS, but I'm glad it's getting one more go-around on the Switch, because it actually is a really good game separate from Tropical Freeze.
Yeah. And also, like, Donkey Kong is getting a lot at the moment. Not games, but like he's been in a movie, he's getting a theme park. Mario vs. Donkey Kong got re-released. Like, obviously, they know Donkey Kong is becoming a much bigger deal culturally than he has been in a while. Because of the Mario movie, because of the theme park. So, obviously, there's a lot of Donkey Kong stuff happening behind the scenes, and this is just the start of that. I think what's exciting about this really is that, yes, we're getting this game, but obviously we're getting a bigger game down the line. And I'm kind of happy that they didn't do a brand new thing now, because I'd rather that be a big ceremonious return on Switch 2 at this point.
Same here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are kind of actually running low on the big hitters here.
Objection!
Also have to mention Ace Attorney Investigations is coming over.
Hell yeah, we do.
The collection. Like, oh man, that's like the entire Ace Attorney series is now coming over. That's amazing. We've got them all.
Everything's here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the greatest.
No choice but to make brand new Mega Man and Ace Attorney games after they've run out of collections.
They're running out of support.
I hope you're right, man. But yeah, no, it is really cool to see. Basically, yeah, we've got Great Ace Attorney and now both Ace Attorney Investigations games. And I haven't played I never played Investigations 1, and 2 never came out here. And I've heard that fans love 2. So I'm really, as an Ace Attorney fan myself, super excited about that. But also, before we move on, I do want to take a moment to mention Fantasian, Neo Dimension. Fantasian's coming to consoles finally, or at least Switch, which is massive. I, like so many people, I'm not I didn't play it on mobile. I'm not a big mobile gamer myself, but that game always interested me so much, and I cannot wait to finally properly play it on Switch.
I played it for like 7 hours in Apple TV, and I said I don't want to play anymore because this is too good to play it here. I'm happy that I waited. Yeah, it deserves better. It feels just classic PlayStation Final Fantasy, right down to the 200 backgrounds, which are now actual models that they've made. And adding voice acting is great too, because like as good as the Apple Arcade game is, it felt a bit quiet. And I think it was missing voices. And yeah, I think this just feels like the best way to play it. And it's just like Marvel, everyone buy this because it's going to be a banger.
Hell yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Dempa Men. Didn't think that would come back.
Yeah,
that came out of nowhere.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was such a weird one.
Yeah,
That would be like seeing
So
a new
weird.
Seaman.
yeah. But otherwise, I think like Switch Sport's getting an update. I didn't see it coming, but cool. And not much to
Yeah.
talk about there, though.
We also have a new Phantom Brave, which,
We do, yes.
if memory serves, it's what, the last Phantom Brave? I mean, it's been ported to a lot of stuff, but there's only one other, right? Is there?
This is the only sequel I think there's ever been to
Yeah,
Phantom Brave.
and the original came out in 2004. So
that's
yeah,
like
wow.
20 years later getting a sequel. Plus, also shout outs. This is actually pretty cool. A Link to the Past plus 4 Swords, among
Yes.
other things.
Oh,
on
right.
NSO.
Yeah, and so
But we
forgot
can
about
play
NSO.
4 Swords online now, which is
Crazy good.
again, which is
And we
great.
we
Yeah.
got 4 games shadow dropped on NSO today, which I mean it always should have been better than that, but I'll take what we got.
I love how
Yeah, it's both cool and underwhelming because like the games that they dropped, fantastic, and most of them are great multiplayer games too, which is always the highlight of NSO. But we have no roadmap still. We have no idea what's coming in the
It's just-
future.
they love to just drop them and then just move on and say, we'll just wait for when we announce another one or another pack
Yeah.
of games. But yeah, it's so funny that we have. This was my first time playing A Link to the Past. Was on the Game Boy Advance. It's funny that we got that here on NSO because we've got like all the Super Mario Advance series, which are also pretty much ports of other titles that have been on like other consoles. But the main draw here is the 4 Swords. Like it's not a huge game on its own. 4 Swords Adventures really expanded upon that, but it started here. It's gonna be fun to see where it started off with the Link to the Past connectivity because I couldn't do that back then in the day. We didn't have
Yeah.
those cords.
I mean, who did? Did you associate the with Link to the Past with the Ocarina of Time sound bites? Because
Yeah,
obviously the GBA
with-
version
with,
has like,
like,
those sword.
Young
sounds.
Link, that's all the Young
Yeah.
Link sound effects. Going, ha, ha. And I'm just like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
It was weird to go back to the actual SNES version. He's just so quiet, or he just goes like, and that's all the
Right.
sound he makes when you get hit.
Yeah.
There's also
But
the
there
full
is
sword
that-
dungeon in that version of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But you have
Yeah.
to get to a certain point in 4 Swords to unlock that dungeon in Link to
Yes.
the Past. Yeah.
And then you can unlock the Hurricane Spin in Link to the Past, so that was cool as
We can all
well.
finally do that.
Right. I mean, I always want to you can talk to me any day of the week, and I always want to replay Link to the Past. And I haven't played the GBA version in a long time, so that might be my avenue for replaying it next time because it's just been a while.
Yeah. And a mature N64 app too makes sense. We're getting Perfect Dark. We're getting Turok, which already had a remaster, so I'm kind of surprised they're doing that.
Right.
And we'll undoubtedly get Conquer on that too.
You
Yeah.
gotta.
Oh,
Still waiting
Conquer
for Diddy
was so
Kong
good.
Racing. though. Where's Diddy Kong Racing? I'm still waiting.
Banjo
Yeah.
Tooie.
And
My
Banjo
favorite-
Tooie.
My favorite
Yeah.
mature rated game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the biggie, which was Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
We
It-
finally
it's
saw.
great.
It doesn't feel
Yeah, it's-
real.
This
Yeah.
was announced 7 years ago.
It's wild. 7
It was
years later, we're
announced
finally seeing it.
7 years ago, restarted development 5 years ago, and we've heard nothing since then, except maybe like a vague screenshot when Retro Studios put out like
It's like
job
concept
listings.
art. Yeah.
But now, like,
Yeah.
we see exactly what's like what was to be expected. Metroid Prime Remastered was like the first preview look of what this is going to be, and
Absolutely.
somehow this looks even better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It puts me into full tinfoil hat conspiracy theory mode because, I mean, they definitely didn't. I'll say this: they definitely didn't show Switch 2 footage.
No,
They're not
no,
going to
no.
sweet snitch
Oh,
or
yeah.
Switch
I
2
think
footage
that's just how it
into
looks.
Oh, that's just
a
how it
direct.
looks
It
on Switch.
definitely looks this good on the Switch, but it is unbelievable how good it looks. Like it's crazy to me that they've got a game looking this good, running at seemingly an incredibly smooth frame rate.
Yeah.
But this is also, to me, very obviously a cross-gen title.
Yeah. It would be a
there's,
waste
There's
if
a
it wasn't.
reason it only said 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
I'll say,
Absolutely. But Prime Remastered, it looks like a current gen game. Prime Remastered looks beautiful. Like that Samus model at the end where you see her face, it's beyond anything else on the Switch. I'm not shocked that Retro can pull this kind of thing off with the hardware. They're crazy over there. But this just looks so damn good. And we didn't even see that much of it. It was clearly the opening area. And we got the reveal of Psylux, who was in Prime
Psylux.
Hunters. Didn't have
Yeah.
much of a role, but since then they've been building Psylux up as like the big bad of the entire series. Like he had,
Yeah.
like, he chased Samus for like 3 seconds at the end of Prime 3. and he stole a Metroid at the end of Federation Force. That is literally all we know about Sylux over the course of like 15 years.
Yeah. And I do love that the little scene we saw of him, he was flanked by 2 Metroids. So,
Yes.
So I'm very curious to see where they're taking the story with Sylux, because it's so weird, as you were saying, John, for a character with so little screen time. They've really been building him up to be a force to be reckoned with, weirdly enough. So
Now I gotta play Hunters for sure. All I got is that demo cartridge.
Go get that Sylux lore.
Get the lore of this
Yeah.
character that I've only seen very tiny snippets and bits of. But yeah, the game just looks incredible. The entire opening area, it's like you're in a battlefield that's already happened. Like that's never really happened before in a Metroid game.
No, it hasn't. We're always there after a battle.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So there's like this one cool section where like Samus is in a morph ball up above, and you see below all those the pirates are fighting underneath, and it's just like, what is happening here? There's a lot we can pick apart from this trailer, but it looks so good. I'm so happy we could actually finally get to see what this looks like, even if a lot of it doesn't really seem to scream like new for Metroid Prime. Like it looked like just the Metroid Prime game. You're gonna have to wait to see what kind of new mechanics are actually gonna set it apart from the rest of the trilogy.
Yeah, but I personally think that's fine. I mean, it's like you said, Daniel, or I'm sorry, like John said, we saw what was undoubtedly an opening bit. Samus had all these power-ups. They're definitely like the bog standard power-ups she has at the beginning of every game that she somehow loses.
Will she lose?
Yeah, something's going to set it apart.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be something. I think that, once I would honestly bet that when we get the Switch 2 proper reveal, we'll find out a lot more about this game then.
Oh yeah.
Like Prime 2 had the light suit, Prime 3 had hyper mode. There's going to be something. I've always been of the opinion that as like Prime, the whole Prime trilogy, fantastic exploration, incredible design, but combat has always been just the bit that you do to get to the other stuff. Like you lock onto an enemy, you shoot them, you charge your beam, you do missiles. Like it's very basic. And I would love to see it evolve in some way. Like Prime 3 kind of did that with hyper mode, where you can sacrifice your health bar to deal more damage. But I just want to see combat get more exciting, and I'm sure some new ability will do that. But at least from what we've seen, base combat is the same, and I think it will get more exciting than that. But there isn't that much to latch onto right now.
Speaking of 2 and 3, though, sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
I'm hoping that they can incorporate some things that they learned from the 2D games. Like if Samus has a melee hit with her cannon,
counter, yeah.
something like that,
Yeah.
to just help to accentuate the combat here, because it's combat's way more important when you're in first-person mode than in the side-scrolling. So hopefully something like that gets incorporated that we just haven't seen yet. But
Like,
I'm looking
in
forward.
Prime, when you're always going through those rooms with the Chozo ghosts, and they always appear and they're in your face, you just kind of want to whack them.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
yeah. Speaking of Prime 2 and 3, though, I do hope we get Like, I know we're not probably going to get remasters to the degree of what Prime 1 got. That was kind of its own special project. But I do hope that, given it's been so many years since we've seen those games, for newcomers especially, I do hope Nintendo do drop at some point Prime 2 and 3 to get newcomers and veterans who haven't played those games in a long time, like me, ready for Prime 4. It'd be nice to be able to revisit both 2 and 3 as well before 4 comes out.
Yeah, well, like Pikmin 1 and 2, just kind of basic ports.
There you go.
But
Exactly.
Yep.
yeah, Prime 3 is obviously very Wii orientated. Like you point at things, you twist the remote, and that doesn't need a drastic overhaul, but some kind of new control scheme would be needed for a port.
They gotta do something, because you have like one of the main items you get early on is you use the nunchuck to throw and pull off shields and stuff like that. So you need to like change that kind of like tactile feeling for just a basic controller set. But
That's a good question though, because the nunchuck, was pretty dumb compared to the Wii remote. And so you could replicate that bit very easily. I'm more concerned about the pointer controls, which I miss incredibly. I wish Prime 4, like if they announced a version of Prime 4 that shipped with a Wii remote I could use to play it, I would absolutely play it that way.
Yeah, Prime Remastered had pointer controls as an option, but any Switch game that uses pointer controls is nowhere near as precise as a sensor bar with the Wii.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's because most of the footage that we saw of Prime 4 thus far, it looked like the basic like original style where you just have the like more so like the GameCube version where Samus just has the cannon out stretched out in a very fixed position. You're not actually moving out freely, but I'm sure that's a control option that we just haven't seen yet. But yeah, I'm surprised. I kind of figured we would see Prime 2 first before they show anything for Prime 4. I kind of like Metroid Prime 2 Echoes a little bit more than Prime 1 as the years have gone on. So I was hoping more people would be able to play that sooner. But yeah, it might just be, as you mentioned, a Pikmin situation where they just kind of get those ports handled in a way that functions the compatibility works with the Switch controllers. And just get that out so that people can experience the whole trilogy before 4 comes out.
Yeah.
It's funny, like all this time later, it's easy to forget that the Prime trilogy, or not trilogy, the Prime quadrilogy now, all takes place between Metroid 1 and 2. And so with Silex being so associated with Metroids now, I kind of wonder if they're going to go out of their way to kind of find some new way to set up Metroid 2 in Prime 4. Assuming this is the last Prime game, which I kind of feel like it probably will be. I wonder if they'll actually try to set that up in a way that we wouldn't be expecting.
It's interesting.
Leading into Metroid 2, yeah.
They did already connect Prime with the original saga with by having Ridley come back as Meta Ridley.
Yeah. So it would be really cool if they connected to 2 in some way we're not expecting.
Yeah, that'd be neat.
Yeah.
It's incredibly exciting just to see Nintendo do a big AAA game. Like, obviously, we have higher tier Nintendo games, but it's not that common when they just go all out with their tech. And there's just like scenes when Samus does that role where it's very clearly, very well motion captured. And I've not seen something of that kind of realistic animation caliber from Nintendo before.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool to see them, like you said. AAA is in an interesting place these days, but it's always exciting to see when Nintendo decides to go full bore with one of their titles like this, especially because even with, their traditional AAA stuff, they lean more into, being creative with art direction and stuff like that to kind of smooth over the edges in their hardware. But this is just them trying to meet Sony and Microsoft where they play, and damn it looks really, really good for that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think we should probably start to wrap this thing up, though, because there were a lot of good games in there, and especially a lot of great first-party Nintendo games, but also great third-party surprises like Marvel. And all in all, I think this is just a really solid Direct. Far exceeded my expectations. I was thinking it would be, just dribbles of something. I thought most of the stuff would be set for Switch 2 at this point, but what we got were really ambitious games.
Yeah. I've been saying for a while that I think that there's going to be less of a line in terms of library between Switch 1 and Switch 2 than most people think there will be, and this kind of underlines that for me. There's no way you come out swinging like this in a console's 8th year unless all these games are going to work on your next platform. And damn it, some of these games are some of the most exciting, like, overall that I've seen in the last 8 years from Nintendo.
Yeah.
That Zelda game alone is enough for... I would have loved that regardless of when it came out, and I'm even more excited that this is something they're doing, almost 8 years on. It's wild that Nintendo is still going this hard.
The one thing that, and I mentioned this before we started recording, the one thing that stings a little bit for me still is, like, maybe we'll still get a September Direct. Hopefully we do, but, like, I was really crossing my fingers for Kid Icarus, and maybe there's still a chance. But I was thinking, like, I feel like we're almost at the last chance for a Kid Icarus Uprising remaster, and I hope we still get it. And I really thought maybe it would happen here, and it didn't. Still an amazing Direct, but that was like, I wasn't actually expecting Rhythm Heaven or Mega Man or whatever. Yeah, but that was never going to happen. But Kid Icarus, I actually had a little bit of hope, and I hope maybe there's still, something that could happen on that front, but we'll see.
Maybe we're thinking too small with Kid Icarus. Like, what if with the next console they just made a sequel or something rather than sticking to a remaster? Because as cool as it would be, I don't think this is the last opportunity for Kid Icarus. And we're not quite at the point where it's been as long of a lull between Myths and Monsters and Uprising. Like, we still have time to get that series back. And Bandai Namco have their own studio. Like, it could happen.
I hope so. And, it could be a union issue, like in terms of the voice acting. Like, as Nintendo don't typically use union voice actors for a lot of their games, but they did with Kid Icarus Uprising, and it may be that's the issue that's preventing a remaster. And to be fair, you don't really have Kid Icarus Uprising without that specifically incredible voice acting with all those amazing characters. So it could be that. Either way, it would just be so great to see it come back and have another chance.
Yes. But it's not about what wasn't there, it's about what is there. And there's a lot to play now, there's a lot to play in the coming months, and there's seemingly quite a bit to play next year too. Switch definitely isn't going to be barren of stuff, even when the Switch 2's out, I doubt. But I think that's probably it for now. If we had to grade this Direct, Daniel, what would you give it on a numerical scale?
There's no Fire Emblem Genealogy Holy War gets a 2 out of 10.
That's
No.
fair.
No, this was a great. Are we doing numerical or letter grades? Because I'll
Yeah,
give
let's
it
do
like
out of 10, numerical.
oh man, I give this like a 9 out of 10. It's up there. That's just a lot of stuff that I get to play soon, and just a lot of titles that we never thought. A lot of stuff that just didn't really leak at all either. I'm really thankful for that because we really
It's
got to
very
just that.
nice. Very
So-
nice to see that.
Those pure reactions, and I'm just staring at the Metroid Prime 4 logo. It's a nice logo. I've been waiting for this logo to
It's a
show
much
up.
nicer logo than the
Just
previous one.
Finally, I can stop looking at 4 all this
Yeah.
time. But
Yeah.
I saw Steve pulling some faces there. What are you thinking?
Well, I was struggling. I was gonna initially when Daniel said 9, I was like, I don't know that it wouldn't be a 10. But I started to consider the fact that I think for me, personally speaking, a 10 is like a hardware reveal, right? Like
yeah.
specifically where Nintendo's concerned. Nothing gets me more excited than when they actually drop new hardware. But I'd say this is as close as you can get to that without that hype of like a new platform, right? So
Yeah.
I would give it a solid. I would even maybe go 9.5 out of 10 because it's about as perfect a Direct as I can imagine without it being catered specifically and solely to me.
What about you, Ash?
Well, Town Darling in our live audience chat said it all. 9 out of 10. No Direct will be perfect until a new Rhythm Heaven, and I have to echo that sentiment. For me, it's a 9 out of 10. Of course, Rhythm Heaven is my baby. I would love to have it there, and that would be a 10 out of 10. But look, this was an amazing Direct, and I'm hovering right around a 9 for sure. So I'm gonna say 9 out of 10.
It's definitely contextual to the time of the system, expectations. Like I'm not expecting Sandbox Mario. I'm not expecting Smash. I'm not expecting Mario Kart. That kind of stuff, compiled with all this soft caliber stuff, would get a 10. Like I think if a Direct just had like Mario Kart, 3D Mario, and I don't think that's quite a 10 either. It needs to be balanced with all this stuff. Whereas this was balanced. New Zelda, Metroid, Mario Party, Mario and Luigi. Like it's just unexpected stuff, cool stuff, some older stuff coming back. It kind of had everything. So I think I agree with you guys that this is probably a 9.
Yeah, feels right about.
Yeah, I think that's solid. Like you said, a very well-balanced Direct. It had a good mix of
Yeah.
things for fans from all different walks, unless you're strictly Pokemon.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, thank you everybody for watching this with us, and our live audience for watching this live and joining the discussion. And thank you for those who watched our reactions too, which you can still catch on our YouTube channel, both clips and also the full thing, if you want to see the entire presentation. Because obviously we didn't talk about everything here, and there are thoughts for some of the lesser games in there, which you'll probably see as we reacted to them. But thank you, everyone. And if you want to support us, you can. You can join that bubble in the corner in live audience for $5 a month over on patreon.com/GV Gaming. And yeah, Direct Time's always exciting. And of course, there's going to be more in the future and probably a console reveal in just mere months. So join us for that. Thank you, everybody. And we'll catch you next time. Bye.
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 We meet again.